astonishing. Asteroid collision triggered abrupt climate change on our Earth 12,800 years ago and started a rapid cooling ice age. This is not the first time we've heard of this. 12,800 years ago, this is when the Göbekli Tepe steles were carved concerning an asteroid collision that took place on Earth at that time. And after that, the experts said that the local people covered everything up to keep it secret. I don't believe that. I believe that after that there was some kind of an ash fall, a tephra explosion, some kind of a hydrothermal something or other that covered up all this area. Not only southern Turkey there in Göbekli Tepe, but also the areas, for example, in Egypt, changing the climate. Let's remember that the Sphinx of Egypt was covered up to its neck in sand. There's been a lot of impacts on Earth. We've had a confirmed 120 Earth impacts from asteroids or comets, and they're finding new ones all the time. Now they've confirmed that they're impacts from the minerals they found there. The microspherules, the metals, microdiamonds. Now this is by The Conversation. It's on the Mind Unleashed. I'll leave a link below for you. It's by Christopher Moore, having to do with what happened to the Earth and how many degrees it cooled. In the space of a couple of years, average temperatures had abruptly dropped, resulting in temperatures as much as 14 degrees Fahrenheit cooler in some regions of the Northern Hemisphere. Now, if a drop like that happened today, that would mean the average temperature of Miami Beach would quickly change to that of current Montreal, Canada. Now, I used to live in Montreal, and let me tell you how cold it gets there in the winter. Unbelievably cold. You're reminded not to touch your nose when you go outside, because if it dislocates, if you cut off your nose by tapping it with your finger, because it's so frozen, it may just chip off. We used to walk to school, 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back. In the afternoon when we used to come back, around 3:30, 4 o'clock, it's almost dusk at that time in winter in Canada, we used to stick our feet in the bathtub, a bathtub of boiling hot water, and it would take minutes for our senses to come back to our legs again because our legs were so frozen. And as our feeling came back, we would scream because of the pain. And this used to go on every afternoon. That's how cold it gets there. And now layers of ice in Greenland show that this cooling period in the Northern Hemisphere lasted about 1,400 years. This climate event, called the Younger Dryas by scientists, marked the beginning of a decline in Ice Age megafauna such as mammoth and mastodons, eventually leading to the extinction of more than 35 genera of animals across North America. They believe that about 75% of life had gone extinct from that. Now, although disputed, some researchers suggest Younger Dryas environment changes led to the population decline among the Native Americans, known for their distinctive Clovis spear points. Well, if it was that freezing cold, not only that, but we had coast-to-coast wildfires. They found soot everywhere, not only in North America, but worldwide, 10 inches deep, meaning that you can imagine how much was burning. They estimate 10% of the world's forest had burned. How could they have lived if the animal population had gone down, if their area was burnt up? You can imagine the toxic water and the toxic air. If they didn't migrate somewhere else quickly, you can imagine how disastrous it would be for them. Now, conventional logic, it says here, wisdom blames the Younger Dryas on the failure of glacial ice dams holding back lakes in central North America and the dozen massive blasts of fresh water they released into the northern Arctic. This freshwater influx shut down ocean circulation and ended up cooling the climate. Some geologists, however, subscribe to what is called the impact hypothesis, the idea that a fragmented comet or asteroid collided with the Earth 12,800 years ago, causing this abrupt climate change. Let's remember one of our past videos, we found that Hudson Bay in Canada, which is, if you don't know where it is, it's just basically north of the Great Lakes, that huge lake that looks like a semicircle, that's Hudson Bay. Well, that was caused by a comet impact. A comet, they believe, split into 7 huge pieces. And we have a tremendous number of impacts worldwide, at least confirmed 120. And they believe that Hudson Bay was caused by a comet impact. Now, along with disrupting the glacial ice sheet and shutting down ocean currents, this hypothesis holds that the extraterrestrial asteroid or comet impact also triggered an impact winter by setting off massive wildfires that blocked sunlight with their smoke. The evidence is mounting that the cause of the younger Dryas cooling climate came from outer space. My own recent fieldwork at a South Carolina lake that has been around for at least 20,000 years adds to the growing pile of evidence. So what would an Earth impact leave behind? Around the globe, scientists analyze ocean, lake, terrestrial, and ice core records have identified large peaks in particles associated with burning, such as charcoal and soot, right at the time of the younger Dryas kicked in. These would be natural results of the cataclysmic wildfires you would expect to see in the wake of Earth taking an extraterrestrial hit. As much as 10% of global forests and grasslands may have burned at that time. And looking for more clues, researchers have poured through the widely distributed younger Dryas boundary stratigraphic layer. That's a distinctive layer of sediments laid down over a given period of time by processes like large floods or movement of sediment by wind or water. If you imagine the surface of the Earth as like a cake, the young Dryas boundary is a layer that was frosted into its surface 12,800 years ago, subsequently covered by other layers over the millennia. In the last few years, scientists have found a variety of exotic impact-related materials in the younger Dryas boundary layer all over the globe. And these include high-temperature iron and silica-rich tiny magnetic spheres. Those are the spherules that we're talking, the microspherules. Nanodiamonds, soot, high-temperature melt glass, and elevated concentrations of nickel, osmium, iridium, and platinum. While many studies have provided evidence supporting the younger Dryas impact, others have failed to replicate evidence. Some have suggested that materials such as the microspherules and nanodiamonds can be formed by other processes and do not require the impact of a comet or asteroid. Now, the view of 12,800 years ago from White Pond. In the southeastern United States, there are no ice cores to turn to in the quest for ancient climate data. Instead, geologists and archaeologists like me can look to natural lakes. They accumulate sediment over time, preserving layer by layer a record of past climate and environmental conditions. White Pond is one such natural lake, situated in southern Kershaw County, South Carolina. It covers nearly 26 hectares and is generally shallow, less than 6 feet, even at its deepest portions. Within the lake itself, peat and organic rich mud and silt deposits upward of 6 meters, 18 feet thick, have accumulated at least since the peak of the last ice age, more than 20,000 years ago. So in 2016, my colleagues and I extracted sediment from the bottom of White Pond. Using a 12-foot-long tubes, we were able to preserve the order and integrity of the many sediment layers that have accumulated over the eons. And based on preserved seeds and wood charcoal that we radiocarbon dated, my team determined there was about a 10 centimeter thick layer that dated to the younger Dryas boundary from between 12,835 to 12,735 years ago. That's where we concentrated our hunt for evidence of an extraterrestrial impact. We were particularly looking for platinum. This dense metal is present in the Earth's crust only at very low concentrations, but is common in comets and asteroids. Previous research had identified a large platinum anomaly, widespread elevated levels of platinum consistent with a global terrestrial impact source in younger Dryas layers from Greenland ice cores as well as North and South America. Most recently, the younger Dryas platinum anomaly has been found in South Africa. This discovery significantly extends the geographic range of the anomaly and adds support to the idea that the younger Dryas impact was indeed a global event. Volcanic eruptions are another possible source of platinum, but younger Dryas boundary sites with elevated platinum do not have other marks of large-scale volcanism. More evidence of the extraterrestrial impact? In the White Pond samples, we did indeed find high levels of platinum. The sediment also had an unusual ratio of platinum to palladium. Both of these rare earth metals occur naturally in very small quantities. The fact that there was so much more platinum than palladium suggests that the extra platinum came from an outside source, such as atmospheric fallout in the aftermath of an extraterrestrial impact. My team also found large increase in soot, indicative of large-scale regional wildfires. Additionally, the amount of fungal spores that are usually associated with the dung of large herbivores decreased in this layer compared to previous time periods, suggesting a sudden decline in Ice Age megafauna in the region at this time. While my colleagues and I can show that the platinum and soot anomalies and fungal spore declines all happen at the same time, we cannot prove the cause. The data from White Pond are, however, consistent with the growing body of evidence that a comet or asteroid collision caused continent-scale environmental calamity 12,800 years ago via vast burning and a brief impact winter. The climate change associated with the younger Dryas megafaunal extinctions and temporary declines or shifts in early Clovis hunter-gatherer populations in North America at this time may have their origins in space. This is by Christopher Moore from The Conversations, Creative Commons, and it's on The Mind Unleashed. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.